There are several software layers that you will learn if you dive into software development, like model, data access service, controller, user interface, view layer, view model layer, repository layer, and service layer, and there you will find a lot of software layers. But in this video I'm gonna point out some of the layers that you will find if you go beyond software. So one thing that is in my mind is jurisdiction. You run your software product within some country. The country has its executive power. So in Russia it is currently Putin, in America Biden, and in China there is the Chinese president. So in every country you will be subjected to the executive power of the prime ministers or the presidents. So you are, whatever you do, whatever type of software you produce, you must bend to the principles, to the rules of these big individuals that has power. Otherwise your software will have end of life. So even the Bitcoin could be stopped by these big powers, big individuals, by restricting, by making them illegal, and by forcing these restrictions with military, with the gun and with a rifle. So if you produce something that is not pleasant to the big name, your software product could go out of life. An example is how several platforms are having a bad time in America after Trump has gone out of presidency. So you must be a slave, you must be dependent from the man in power. This is the jurisdiction part. So another part is the contracts. There are public and there are non-public contracts between corporations. So you should be aware of them. So your software could do something that your software should do something that is publicly known and contracted. Otherwise you could be subjected to go to court and to be fined. Like the perfect example is how Oracle went with Google to the court because of the use of the Java programming language, because even as Java is open source, it is actually owned by a company. So it is something that was a little bit not directly written, not directly contracted. So whatever you do should be contracted and described perfectly, so you could not be subjected to courts and to endless fights and to fines and to problems. So your software should be aware of warfare. If your software does something fishy around military areas, you could probably be subject to processing by secret military organizations, and your life is at risk if you could go if you are in areas where there is politics and espionage and stuff like that. So be aware of politics. That is one other area that you should be aware when you do when you create a software and when you manage software. Look how the software, the big social medias are actually used in politics. So this is, look how tricky it is to run a software product, and how every social media has different policies about politics, different approaches of how to treat false news and stuff. So this is again some layer that should be taken into account, how to treat, how to interact with politics, either have a good relations with them or bad. And if you have problems with, if you don't have any problems with any of these above layers, but if you understand them, and if your software goes above them or goes around them, and you don't have problem with them, but you embrace them, embrace these higher levels like finances. Wow, I almost forgot, this was one of the biggest value system, the different types of value systems. So your software should be measured somewhere, somehow, in some measurement system. Otherwise it is you're pointless, you're not doing anything if your software does not produce something of a value for someone somewhere. If you're not doing something meaningful, your software is nothing. So this is another thing. Your software could be valued a lot, but how much it should be valued is again a thing that is in term of interpretation. It is a subject to interpretation. If you can manipulate this subjectivity of interpretation, you're in a good place, because the subjectivity could be tricked by your influence on it. So if you have all these above layers of software in your mind, and you understand them, and you embrace them, and you interact with them with a high quality, whatever type of design pattern or other software complexity is totally easy and totally graspable and totally piece of cake compared to these higher levels of software of psychological complexity and layers of interactions of the human individuals between the places on Earth. So good luck.